Welcome, everyone. This is the Human Rights Commission meeting for the City of Palm Springs, Monday, June 14 at 2021. We will call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is roll call. Jay?
Yes. Commissioner Andrade.
Present.
Commissioner Flood.
Here.
Commissioner Ramaran.
Present.
Commissioner Shepard.
Present.
Vice Chair Chappelle is excused. And Chair DeHart.
Present.
Chair, we have quorum.
And we have student representative Lily Hanner is on.
Yes.
So welcome, everyone, and welcome to the guests that are joining us today. We appreciate that. Next item is the mission statement, and Commissioner Ramaran is going to share that with us today.
Good evening, everyone. The mission of the Palm Springs Human Rights Commission is to promote and protect the diversity of our community and improve human relations through education and community awareness. Human Rights Commission goals include to develop community education programs, to investigate and mediate instances of discrimination of groups or individuals, to bring persons and groups together in group support of human rights issues, to acquire the fiscal and human resources necessary to support and accomplish the work of the Commission, to provide management and coordination for the Commission, to promote diversity through the appointment of candidates to all boards and commissions, to proportionately reflect the diversity of the population of the City of Palm Springs. The Commission and each committee shall develop goals and objectives annually for adoption by the Commission. And lastly, the Commission shall work closely with the Mayor, City Council, City Cabinet, and with all other City Commissions and boards in joint endeavors that support the Commission's mission, statement, and City's goals and objectives.
I don't think we've gotten through the whole list in quite a long time. So thank you for hitting them all for us today. Jay, do we have a quorum? Yes?
Yes, we do, Mr. Chair.
All right. Next item on the agenda is item 5, public comments. This time has been set aside for members of the public to address the Human Rights Commission on agenda items and any items of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Commission. 3 minutes is allowed for each speaker. Although the Commission values your comments pursuant to the Brown Act, it generally cannot take any action on items not listed on the posted agenda. Commissioners will not enter into discussion with speakers, but during Commission comments may refer the matter to staff for report and recommendation at a future Commission meeting. We do have a couple guests in the waiting room. Do we have any registered public comments, Jay?
No one has requested public comments at this point.
Anybody putting your hand up? I'm looking. I don't see any indication that we have any comments today. So we will close public comments. Moving right along to item 6. My couple comments today, and first is to thank everybody who has commented and set public comment into the Commission over these last 3 or 4 months on the subjects that we've been working on. It's always advantageous to hear as much as we can from all perspectives in the community, and we certainly have had some wonderful participation by a good number of people in the community, and we just want to point out that that's certainly appreciated. We know it's not the easiest thing to do all the time, to take the time out and to share comments with these public meetings, but we do appreciate everybody taking the time to share thoughts and suggestions and guidance for us on the Commission. So thank you. Next item is, we know that, as you can see, our Vice Chair Chappelle is not here today. She is absent with an excused absence. And I know the whole commission will join in sending our thoughts to Vice Chair Chappelle and her family. They're having their mother's memorial today in Vermont. So our thoughts and our heart go to our Vice Chair Chappelle and her family. Next up, item 7, we have a guest today, and our guest is City Manager Justin Clifton. Justin, welcome.
Thank you very much. So is this a good time for me? Or?
Yep, this is your time. Item 7 on the agenda.
Great.
You're up.
Great, thank you so much. So I don't have a lot to report, but I did want to just say a couple of things. Number one, thank you all for your service and commitment to the community, especially, I shouldn't say especially, but Chair DeHart, I don't know how many things exactly you participate in, but somehow you're part of almost everything, right? It's like there must be a twin of you somewhere or something. You're all so active in serving the community. I also want to say that I recognize that not long ago, you guys had passed a resolution addressing the Bogart statue, and realized that we have not had a joint meeting with council and that you have not heard enough about where that process is. So I want to apologize that there hasn't been more communication. For those that were looking really closely at the closed session agenda from last council meeting, would note that one of those items was to receive legal advice, because we have received communication from a couple of attorneys representing 2 different interests in that matter. And so council's had some closed session. I'm of course not at liberty to discuss the specifics of that, but that's one of the reasons that things have progressed a little more slowly than perhaps we would have liked. Not uncommon when you take on something that important and that significant, that unfortunately we hit some moments of the process, some bumps along the road, if you will. My impression and understanding is council is still very much committed to bring that issue back to the public and to see it to completion, but they're not at this point ready to schedule that meeting, given some of the pending conversations that they're currently having. So wanted to make sure to put that out there and that you understood that that's one of the reasons there hasn't been more communication. And again, apologize that it's taken this long to get those notes to you. Otherwise, I know this being a Brown Act meeting, we can't get into brand new agenda items and things like that, but I'm happy to take questions and answer any that I can, or get back to the commission with anything that I can't discuss this evening.
Excellent. Does anybody want to take advantage of this opportunity now that city manager's in the hot seat? Commissioner Shepherd.
Good afternoon. I am delighted to have you here as our new city manager, and just wondering if you can share with us some of your first impressions of our fair city and your interactions in City Hall and so forth.
Sure, I'd love to. Thank you very much. So I should say first, if I had not done so to this group, I come from Sedona, Arizona most recently. I managed 2 communities in Colorado before that. I love public service. I was not looking to leave Sedona necessarily. For those that have been, know that it's a beautiful community, a smaller community, but Palm Springs was really a unique opportunity. What really caught my interest once I had heard from a recruiter and talked a little bit was watching the council in particular, reading the resumes even, and seeing the talent that we had on council. I listened to a listening session that the council had organized on racial discrimination, use of force, and other issues in the community, and was just really impressed by the level of engagement and how people were civil and civic minded, but still very, real and almost raw at times with what they had to say. And the more I looked after that, the more I just really wanted to be part of what was going on here. The high level of engagement, which is something that I'm used to and think is the way government should work. And so anyway, I wasn't running from anything, and I had never applied for any other position while working for Sedona. I wanted to be in Palm Springs because I thought it was a really unique opportunity. I come here with my wife and 2 kids, ages 5 and 3, and they love it. Our 2 kids were at the first day of Parks and Recreation Camp today. So my 5-year-old was learning how to skateboard, and my little girl hopefully learning how to swim. I go home most days, my family's in the backyard enjoying the sunshine when it's, frankly, too hot for me to be outside. And my wife usually looks up at me and says something like, I love it here. I mean, really, everybody's getting along just so well. I felt welcomed by the community. It's very early on for me to have a lot of impressions. I like to say that I spend my first, number of months listening and learning, and I'm still doing that. But some of the early impressions, obviously we have a very engaged community. I had a conversation with Chair Hart the other day that, one of the most beautiful things we have is this high level of engagement, right? We have these commissions that get to take on, specialized topics, human rights, sustainability, parks and recreation, library. The only challenge that creates is council is the only throughput for a lot of that, right? The Human Rights Commission is a little different, that you guys get to act more than some of the other groups that are really pretty strictly advisory. But bottom line is we have such a robust system and so much engagement that frankly, we struggle to keep up sometimes. We've got a long list of agenda items on the back page of a piece of paper. The front page has 4 running council dates, right? We meet twice a month for 10 hours. That's what we have to do all the policy work. And the back page has a list of items that since I've been here, nothing's made it from the back page to the front page. And so that's a challenge. I think one of the things we need to do, especially at the council level, is really prioritize and communicate better with all the commissions, all the subcommittees, and all the stakeholders. What are our most important things, and what do we have to acknowledge are lesser important things? It's something that it's a hard conversation that sometimes people don't want to have. But frankly, if everything's important, nothing's that important, right? And you measure priorities not by what you talk about, but what receives action, and especially what you're willing to give up to get it done. So that's a big one. And then the only other thing I'd share is that I think we have a very talented staff team, really a lot of rock stars, but I don't think we've operated like a rock star team. I think we have some rock star individuals that do some very good work. But that's the next level for us, is to come together and figure out how to deliver service as a unit. And as a unit, well, if the scale of individual potential is 1 to 10, the scale of potential on a team is 1 to 100 or 1 to 1,000. It's just a factor different to operate in concert with one another than it is to excel as oneself. So that's going to be a big part of my emphasis, and a part of our goal here at the city is to come together as really talented individuals and make an extraordinary team. So I'm excited about it. And there's a lot of work, no shortage of challenges, no shortages of ideas of what we should or should not be doing. But by all means, keep that coming, because it's from that rich fabric of conversation and deliberation that comes really good work. So again, can't thank you enough for what you're doing. That's in a nutshell my first impressions, and I'll just reiterate again. We love it here. Wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Excellent. Any other questions? Commissioner Andrade.
Not a question so much as a couple comments. First of all, welcome,
Thank you.
Justin, and thanks for the update on the status of the Bogart statue. I think the absence of communication has provoked a lot of speculation in the community. So I'm really grateful for that, as I'm sure my fellow commissioners are. Simple conversation is just so helpful. We don't even need finality. We just need to know it's being looked at. Also, I'd like to thank you for your work with relocating well in the desert and trying to improve our homeless services in the city. It's a huge challenge. We all know that. I felt like your staff report last council meeting was excellent and right on and very well thought out and accurate. So I just want to thank you for that as well.
Thank you. Credit goes to Jay Barada for that staff report. He does an excellent job. I've tried to get up to speed quickly, and I've gone out to Indio and toured Martha's Kitchen, and I've met with Arlene and Matthew at the well, and I've talked to Seabag and tried to learn about what they're doing, and meeting with Greg Rodriguez, and really trying to catch up on homeless issues. It is a big challenge. We'll keep working on it for sure. And then I will take accountability for some of the lack of communication. Sometimes I take for granted that government is a slow moving ship. And so part of me thinks, boy, this has been a problem that's decades, if not generations in the making, a solution that's at least months. And as a couple city council meetings came and went, I neglected to consider that in my insider's world, that's normal time. But when you're really invested and you've spent a lot of time and energy and put your heart and soul in something, it's just not good enough to hear radio silence. So I take accountability for that, and I will endeavor to do better.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, excellent. I don't see any other thumbs up or hands. So, Justin, if your wife says to you in about 5 weeks that she still loves it, we know that she was born to be a desert dweller. So, let's give her 4 or 5 more weeks, and I hope she's still telling you that she loves it.
They will. Even my dog was outside yesterday at 108 and actually sunbathing for a little while. So we'll need shade at 120, I'm sure. But I'm convinced she was born to be in the desert.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you again, and we really do appreciate you coming and giving us, sharing, the updates that you do have, and hopefully we can schedule a fairly frequent visit throughout the year, so we can continue to at least just have a touch with one another and keep the communication open.
Thank you. I will certainly take advantage of that. I appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you. Okay, next up, we have a few items for recognition, and Ella was going to cover the first one for us, but I will step in and take care of that. The first item is one of the special days of recognition that the Commission has designated, and that is the World Refugee Day, which is the 20th of June every year. World Refugee Day is an international day designated by the United Nations to honor refugees around the globe. It falls each year on the 20th and celebrates the strength and courage of people who've been forced to flee their home country to escape conflict or persecution. World Refugee Day is an occasion to build empathy and understanding for their plight and to recognize their resilience in rebuilding their lives. The COVID-19 pandemic and the recent anti-racism protests have shown us how desperately we need to fight for a more inclusive and equal world. A world where no one is left behind, and a world where it is today never been more clear that all of us have a role to play in order to bring about change and create a more just, inclusive, and equal world for everyone, including our refugees. So that takes care of World Refugee Day and raise a little bit of awareness for that. And our student representative, Lily Hanner, is going to share with us the next day that's being recognized.
Okay. Is my audio okay?
Yep.
Okay, because usually in my room, my internet gets kind of shoddy. So anyways, so June 23rd is recognized as United Nations Public Service Day. UN Public Service Day celebrates the value and virtue of public service to the community, highlights the contribution of public service in the development process, recognizes the work of public servants, and encourages young people to pursue careers in the public sector. From frontline healthcare workers and public health officials to teachers, sanitation workers, social welfare officers, and more, the humble public servant has been thrust into the spotlight, helping elevate awareness and understanding of the critical role public servants play in everyday life, and in particular during times of severe crisis, such as the COVID-19 pandemic. We honor essential workers and reflect on how to better protect, recognize, and invest in their well being. We are deeply indebted to public servants for your remarkable acts of service to humankind.
How about that? Very good. Thank you, Lily. Great job. Next item, and Jay, if I can share the screen, I think I should be able to. This item came out of executive committee, and it was caught me by surprise because it's we haven't done it before, and just question was, why haven't we done this before? So what's on the screen now is a draft of a Pride Month proclamation in Palm Springs. Now, this is a Human Rights Commission proclamation just to bring greater awareness, not only to Pride Month in June, but the fact that our Pride is in November, and that we look forward to the time in November when Pride is celebrated in Palm Springs. So I'll go through and maybe Commissioner Shepard, if you would like to read the first 4 paragraphs or so, then I'll pick up where you stop.
That's better. Whereas during Pride 2021, we stand with the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community of Palm Springs as they declare their pride in who they are and who they love. We acknowledge June is the Worldwide Pride Month, and we eagerly await the commemoration of the annual celebration in Palm Springs on November 1st through 7th as we gather to educate, protest, inspire, and honor our diverse community. Whereas Pride raises awareness for equal rights and full equality for individuals locally and globally. And whereas the citizens of Palm Springs and the global LGBTQ community, along with their allies, have made great strides towards full equality since the modern LGBTQ civil rights movement began with the Stonewall riots in 1969. And whereas Pride is and always has been a show of resistance to discrimination, resistance to hatred, resistance to fear, and resistance to violence. As we honor those who have courageously fought for equality and are no longer with us, we welcome the support and strength of the next generations.
Whereas it is in the spirit of solidarity that we celebrate what it means to be a member of this beautiful community, to remember those who we have lost, affirm our commitment in the fight for equality, and look towards the future and what it holds for LGBTQ people worldwide. Whereas Pride in Palm Springs provides a platform for residents of Palm Springs to affirm their stance against discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, and expression, and in support of equal rights for all individuals locally and globally. Whereas while there has been remarkable progress towards acceptance and equality in recent years, members of the LGBTQ community in the United States and around the world still face unacceptable levels of discrimination and violence. We stand in solidarity with the United States Association of Prides and through Pride around the world. We give a voice to the power of self-expression, inclusiveness, and love. And whereas members of the LGBTQ community have made valuable contributions in business, the arts, the military, volunteerism, leadership, religion, medicine, law, environmental protection, athletics, civil rights, and education, and they continue to lead the larger community in addressing and remedying the many problems posed by issues such as hate crimes, LGBTQ homeless youth, bullying, teenage suicide, gender identity discrimination, and LGBTQ elder mistreatment and discrimination. Now, Therefore, the Human Rights Commission of the City of Palm Springs, California, do hereby recognize the many civic contributions of the LGBTQ community in Palm Springs and encourage all people to share in the pride of our city's diverse citizenry by participating in the 35th annual Palm Springs Pride Celebration, November 1st through 7th, 2021. Be it further resolved that the months of June and November 2021 in our fair city are hereby proclaimed to be Palm Springs Pride Month. So see how special we are. We get 2 months of pride in our community, where other cities are just celebrating one. We're going to take 2. Any questions on that recognition that we're bringing forward today?
Looks great.
If Lily, yes.
It's not really on the the document itself, but since you did bring up the week in November from the 1st to the 7th, does that mean that the city is looking to be on track to having Pride Parade again this year?
Yes, so the Pride in Palm Springs is always the first weekend in November, that first week in November, and this year it is scheduled and on target to be a traditional in-person Pride celebration for the community.
Okay, yay, I'm excited then.
Well, Commissioner Ramaran is going to hook onto you and shortly because you're going to get signed up to march in the parade, I'm sure. So if we have no questions or comments, I call for a motion to accept the Human Rights Commission proclamation for Pride Month in June and November.
So moved.
Second by
Second.
Commissioner Ramaran. Any further discussion on the resolution? All in favor?
Aye.
And unanimous, Jay. Thank you all very much. Next item is the approval of minutes, and we have a good batch of minutes today. So I know you all had some good reading material to go through. We have February 8, March 8, April 12, and May 5 that were included in this meeting's packet. Is there any discussion on any of the minutes as presented? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Commissioner Flood, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Andrade. All in favor of accepting the minutes as presented? Unanimous, Jay. Thank you for that. Next up, we have item 10, items for discussion and action. Out of the executive committee, we did meet and we had a fair amount of conversation on a wide range of topics, including the work that we've been doing over the last 3 months. And also out of the committee meeting, the Pride resolution was brought up. So we brought that forward to today's meeting. And other than that, that was no other action coming from executive committee. Now we'll move on to the Community Relations, Budget and Personnel Committee. And today, I think, we tried this before, and I think I would prefer that we do it again this way. If you have an update for your committee or subcommittee work, we'll just raise your hand and we'll call on you to give a report. So you can give a report if you have one. And if you don't have one, no worries. We don't have to talk for talking's sake. But under community relations is item A, the Palm Springs Police Department LGBTQ Outreach Committee. There was one report of a hate incident for the month of May. And I can share with you a quick summary of that incident. On May 18 at approximately 5:30 p.m., a PSPD officer was dispatched to the 300 block of East Via Escuela regarding a verbal disturbance that occurred earlier in the day. The reporting party informed the officer that approximately a month and a half ago, a month prior, he had located a deceased cat partially buried in the grounds of the property. The animal carcass was partially covered in ants, so the reporting party placed the remains in the dumpster of the complex. On May 18th, the reporting party came across a resident who was looking for his pet cat. When the reporting party informed the resident of the discovery of the deceased cat and how it was discarded, the resident became upset and made derogatory comments about the perceived sexual orientation of the reporting party. The officer was not able to establish a crime and documented the information as a hate incident. So that is on record, and we appreciate the police department for taking that record. Let's see, anything else to report under community relations? Commissioner Ramron.
Hi, thank you, Chair DeHart. Under B for master calendar, I am going to ask for some support and help, and this is where I'm going to be recruiting folks for the upcoming community calendar and master calendar items that are approved through our commission. Just to give you a brief sort of recap of how the year looks for us in the Human Rights Commission. The sort of approved events that we partake in as the commission, wherein we would participate as a commission as well as get our banner for our commission to be present at an event, include the Organized Neighborhoods of Palm Springs annual picnic, the Transgender Day of Remembrance, the Greater Palm Springs Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender Pride Parade, as well as the Veterans Day Parade and Black History Month. And so today I'd love to ask for anybody who would like to volunteer to help. This is where I'd like to ask the commission who would want to be part of one. We're going to be part of the Pride Parade, which will be on Sunday, November 7th, 2021. And that will take place from 10 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. What I have right now in our calendar is that it's a parade that steps off in the Uptown Design District at Tachiva and Palm Canyon Drive and travels through south through downtown. So Student Commissioner Hanner, would you like to volunteer to help me out with this one this year? This would be a great way to work together as well.
I would be so down. That sounds like so much fun. I haven't walked in a pride parade in a while, so this would definitely be fun. At my last school, I walked in two for the 2 years that I was a part of the GSA. So not being able to be in it again last year because of COVID, definitely an upset. So I'm so excited.
This is a big year, as you know, as we're opening up. Tomorrow's a big day, as the city and the county are opening up in terms of June 15th, because of in terms of masking. But Chair DeHart will testify to this. This is the probably biggest celebration that'll be happening this year in 2021 for Pride, and so we're really looking forward to it. So yeah, it looks like it's going to be a big parade. That's what I'm feeling. I do have another request in regards to that. Yeah, it looks like that's it in terms of confirming the date and time as well on the calendar. So I think that's all I have right now, Chair DeHart.
Excellent. And there is one more event, Commissioner Amran, and that's the Transgender Day of Visibility. Just so we can make sure that gets mentioned. I don't want them to think we left them off the list. So
I mentioned it, Chair, as the
Transgender Day of Remembrance and Transgender Day of Visibility. So okay. We have those two different. So I didn't hear you. So thank you.
I'm sorry about that.
So is there? Thank you for that update, and Representative Hanner, thank you for stepping forward. So other commissioners, please mark your calendars now for November 7. roughly 9 a.m. to 2:30-ish. So if you're able to, you can, participate in the march, behind the human rights banner. Um, who has the banner? Commissioner Andrade has it. So,
Just ran across it the other day.
all right. Well, don't lose it. We're going to hold you
I
to
won't, I
being the
promise.
one who's responsible for it.
Just a quick question,
Okay, excellent.
if I could.
Any other updates in community relations, cultural affairs, seniors?
I just had a quick question.
How about you? Yes.
So there
Go ahead.
is no 1 PS picnic this year. It's next year.
It passed for this year, so it would have to be for 22, but I haven't seen any dates. And I haven't seen anything. Yeah, I haven't seen anything that they're changing it to be in the fall. So I don't know if that's even a possibility.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. How about Representative Lily Hanner? Do you have an update from the youth perspective for us?
No, honestly, I haven't really been in contact with either Representative Cash or Vice Chair. So I have no updates on that front.
Okay, all right, excellent. Any other committee updates? If we don't have any other committee updates, we'll go into the item C, and we've got some updates from staff, I presume. Um, Homelessness, general plan, and chair selection. So Jay, I think you're going to head us off on those topics. And before we lose the city manager, going back to our calendar, Justin, maybe at some point in time, we can touch base and look at how we can work with the city hall, your office, and really have an incredible city showing in the parade. So I've made a note here to follow up with you and have that conversation down the road. But this is going to be a great year for us to do something special for the city. Okay, Jay. Oh, Edwin. I'm sorry, Commissioner Amaran.
Yes, Chair DeHart, did you skip over? Are we skipping over B, committee assignments, going straight to C, or?
Do you have anything that you'd like to give us an update on?
Yes, because that was one attachment that we did have to this agenda.
Oh, sorry, you're right. You're right. We have the community or clean air, indoor air. Do you want to brief us on that? We've got the document, that final document that is ready for approval by the commission, I understand.
Yes, the proposed ordinance of the City Council of the City of Palm Springs, California, to amend the municipal code by established regulations applicable to commercial and residential clean indoor air and health protection to regulate tobacco and cannabis product use is the title of the document that is attached to our agenda. I believe everyone has had the opportunity. I believe, but this is actually an opportunity to also for us to record any more edits or changes. I have 2 spelling errors to forward to Director Varada. I'll make sure to do that so that that this document can go back to Commissioner Carl Baker, with sustainability. But do any of the other commissioners or anybody here who serve on the commission, do you have any other edits or changes you'd like to forward? We had a red line document that sort of showed you the sort of newer changes. But I did check and find out there were 2 spelling errors.
So, Commissioner Omran, can you tell us what's the next step?
The next
So
step.
it's not final today.
It's not final. I mean, it's final in terms of our recommendations because this is a document, an ordinance. A document that has been drafted by sustainability with our advice. And so again, this was the opportunity for the past few months, actually even prior to me serving here, that the commission was empowered to like provide any feedback. So if there's any feedback, and I totally encourage you all to, if you haven't had a chance to, and if you need more time, we could even ask for more time, but I could definitely, it'd be great for them to get the document back at sustainability so they could work towards getting it to city council.
So does it come back to us? Or are we done with it today?
It's up to us if we're done with it today. I could make a motion to do that as well, but I want to feel comfortable with you all here and present, since we didn't, I didn't have a committee that necessarily looked at it, specifically. Does that make sense? I hope I'm not overstepping anything
Yeah.
right now.
What's the feeling of the commission? Any
That's
thoughts
fine
on how you?
To me, I don't think there's anything else needed that I see.
Everybody's in agreement with that? Okay.
I could make a motion.
So then this is the final for us, and I would like to know the time. I can't even think back how long that this has been on the table. It's been that long. I can't remember how long ago this started. Thank you for shepherding this through. Jay, do we need any formal action here, or do we just approve it to return to sustainability with our endorsement and support?
I believe that would be the appropriate action, Mr. Chair. I don't know if our city manager has any other ideas. Okay. Yes, having taken a look at it as requested by Sustainability Commission, you've reviewed and it sounds like minor comments and editorial changes would be reported back to the Sustainability Commission.
Okay, so Commissioner Ramaran, would you like to make the motion that we accept the Sustainability Commission draft ordinance with our support and endorsement?
So moved.
Seconded by Commissioner Andrade. Any other discussion on the ordinance? All in favor of supporting the ordinance with our endorsement? Hands up. Commissioner Shepherd?
Yes, I'm sorry.
We've got a unanimous vote there. I'm sorry, but Lily, I hadn't called on your vote the last time we voted. Jay, our student reps can vote. Is that a yes or no?
I believe that's a no, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So sorry, Lily. I thought there was a change in the procedure, but I just wanted to correct it if I was wrong. Okay. Anything else in B, Commissioner Ramaran?
Nothing except for section B of B, street naming. I have met with Commissioner Shepherd, and she and I will be, since we're both also serving on the forthcoming committee on, equity and social justice that the city council is heading. I believe that these are some of the type of topics that we will be covering as well. But I want to know that she and I both met and we have discussed street naming as part of a real push for these, because of the three areas or the three streets that we're actually. I'm going to be not jumping into detail right now, but I see this as a real opportunity to really streamline the discussions around equity and social justice, wherein street naming and renaming is part of that as well. So I just want you to know that that's where we're at right now with the discussion on street naming.
Okay, thank you. All right, Jay, now you're up with homelessness update, item C.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. City Manager Clifton has already touched on some of the work going on with homelessness. And as you can imagine, the landscape with homelessness is sort of a constantly shifting situation. There are funds being made available at the state level and federal government level that should help quite a bit. But we're still sifting through who's doing what in the city. And I say that in a way because, as you know, with Well in the Desert, they're kind of looking at a move. And while they will be helping out to provide some of the cooling services over the summer, you know, there will be a transition time as we get them to the right point. And there's also work we do with the county. The city manager has mentioned Greg Rodriguez, who is actually the chair of the county Oversight Commission for Homelessness, as well as he works with the Coachella Valley Association of Governments on homelessness issues. So the county is obviously an important partner, as is our individual service providers who, again, we will be getting together with to make sure we're all coordinated in delivering services. So that is something that, you know, we are just looking at with, you know, a more focused vision in terms of delivering services and coordinating who's doing what, which, you know, in the past, we had agreements with certain providers and we did our thing. But I think what we're getting into now is more of a regional approach, which I believe would help everybody. In regards to the general plan, you know, in the past, we've talked about inclusionary housing. And as you may know, the city will very soon, within the next council meeting or two, be considering the housing element for the city. So we're thinking those two conversations, housing element and general and inclusionary housing, may merge or be discussed separately, but those conversations at the city council level are coming up. And so I just wanted to make sure that was on your radar as something that if you had concerns or comments with or wanted to contribute to the discussion, it will very likely be at the city council level within the next meeting or two. You know, I noticed on the agenda it also has vision and priorities update. And what I'd like to do though is ask Justin if he has comments for the commission in terms of vision and priorities, because he's working on creating vision and priorities for the entire city. And ideally, all of our visions and priorities are aligned. So he may want to give us a little talk on what he has in mind.
Sure. Thanks, Jay. I mentioned a little bit earlier that what's interesting is we have such a robust system of inputs, but the throughput is really city council, at least when it comes to adopting new policy. And I kind of mentioned that we've got that back page of agenda items that for the last couple of months, we haven't gotten put one of those things on the front page. And that includes looking through to the end of July, right before we go dark. So bottom line is, you know, I'm new. I think I'm a little different than my predecessor. And council has talked about the need to really do some visioning and prioritize. We just talked about homeless services. You know, does the city need to play an even larger role than we are? I don't know. Should that take more staff resources? Should new staff that we hire be in that area opposed to some other area? Economic development is another activity that is often cited as one where we need to invest more. So the bottom line is we need to do some visioning and some prioritization. And likely that's kind of what I describe as a medium term, meaning 3 years or so, and a short term, which is the annual year that ideally flows with the budget, right? So the budget is also reflecting our priorities. So it's a very iterative process that I see that's ideal, which means first, there's a system of kind of inputting to council, right? Asking citizens what they want to see, asking stakeholders, especially people that serve on commissions and committees and are engaged with the city, 1PS, et cetera, providing some inputs, basically what they would like to see. And then council from there considers kind of the overall picture, balances among these competing interests, and provides directions, especially again to those that kind of had delegated responsibilities like the commission. So one thing that we've talked about is if we're going to do something like that, basically this fall at some point, wouldn't it be great if each commission, rather than just waiting for the council to say, here are some areas of focus, presented what they saw as some of those medium and kind of short-term priorities, 1 year and then maybe up to 3. It sounds like from the early proceedings of the meeting, you guys have done a lot of that already. So it might even just be kind of dusting off the list and kind of putting some things in rank order or whatever at the staff level to facilitate some of that and to make sure that the conversation among stakeholders is consistent. We might tighten the parameters, right? I'm loosely talking about 1 year and 3 years, but we might even, ask for something like rank order of priorities or estimated time to vet particular policies or whatever it may be. And then funnel all that up to councils by this fall so that rather than determining priorities in I don't want to say a vacuum, but based on their own interests, they would actually get to hear from so many of the members that are immersed in conversations like you are to articulate what you see as the high priorities. They would obviously need to pick and choose and bring their own ideas to the table when setting an annual agenda. But the idea would be the outcome would be something that is at least roughly scaled to reflect the time we have in a year, right? And maybe we get a little further down the list, maybe a little shorter, but if everything were kind of prioritized, basically, we'd have marching orders, so to speak. So that's the very rough concept. I'd love to get input and see what other ideas there might be that are consistent with the general concept of setting priorities. But in essence, that's where we're at. Chair, I think you're on mute.
Yes. We asked for this to come on the agenda. Really, if we could focus in on the vision update, not as much the priority update. And I think the plan that you shared with us sounds like a great approach where the commissions can be forward thinking and look at some suggestions from the priority standpoint. But we spent probably the most time that we've spent on an item in the last couple of years was spent on the general plan vision review. Council had asked that it came to the Human Rights Commission to be looked at through a human rights lens, and I think the commission, and I'm very proud of the commission's work on that vision and incorporating that the human rights component throughout. So that, I'm curious as to where does that stand, the vision piece of the general plan. And I think we were like one of the last stakeholders to comment on that vision.
Mr. Chair, I'll have the planning department provide the latest or final version of that vision, and I can distribute that to the commissioners.
Yeah, okay. But I would maybe I don't want to assume, but that vision, that overall vision that the stakeholders have had input on already, I would think that would be part of the foundation for our forward-thinking priority goals, suggestions for city council. Is that right, Justin, or have you gotten that far?
No, you're absolutely right. I think our general plan is kind of the highest level strategic document we have that should be pretty long-term and set aspirationally the vision, the values, the principles on which our work is based. And then this other iteration I'm talking about would be just narrowing in and taking subsets of that. So Jay, I don't know if you know the answer to this. I don't, but I would assume that vision comes forward in the update to the general plan, which some of that is happening in components and certain elements, but at some point there'll be, some last formal adoption of that general plan update. And I would think that's the point at which the vision is actually memorialized. I don't know if it's set for separate discussion with council or if it's intended to be presented just at that point where when the updated plan is finished. Jay, do you know?
Well, I can tell you this commission was asked to provide input on the vision for the general plan. But Justin, as you know, we don't have the general plan moving forward as an action item for the council. But I believe it was meant to inform the housing element of the general plan, which will move forward for city council review. So
Okay.
I think it was a tool to help develop the housing element. And so if they finalize that, I'll find that information out. But I'm sure, though, that as we revise the general plan, it may not be this year as the housing elements do this year. You know, what has been done will be the starting point for that in terms of the vision.
Thank you. Commissioner Rameron?
Is it okay to comment on the conversation here on this
Sure.
agenda item? The one thing that I noticed, because I was looking at the schedule, and this week, as I think most of you know, just to reinforce that the neighborhood input sessions that the PS general plan has, the Palm Springs general plan has put out, include meetings this week, tomorrow, Thursday, and then next week, Tuesday and Monday. There's even one meeting 3, which is in Spanish. So this is actually an opportunity for the upcoming neighborhood meetings to provide input on housing, environmental justice, and the vision for the future of the Palm Springs. So I don't know if that sort of consolidates the conversation of where we're at, because there is sort of like a discussion about inclusionary zoning, which is very, very important. I think it's a separate comment on a discussion on in regards to the sort of larger general plan, which is the vision of Palm Springs, the general vision plan. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I wanted to just reiterate that there are meetings, for instance, tomorrow at 5:30 at the Mizell Senior Center. There's a meeting 2 at the Demuth Community Center, also at 5:30. The Spanish language one will be next Tuesday, the 22nd at Vista Del Monte. And then the 4th meeting, which again, the public is invited to provide input, is Monday, the 28th of June at the James O. Jesse Desert Highland Unity Center. So I totally encourage folks, if you haven't yet, and this is actually an opportunity to actually go to the website, and do I think it's the website around redistricting, for instance, in California as well. So you'll know that there's a lot of conversation around how we're developing communities of interests. And I think we all come from very, very specific communities, and hopefully we can all do that also, since we all represent very different neighborhoods as well in Palm Springs. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. Are we clear with item D? Any other discussion there?
Question, if I could.
Sure, go ahead.
This is just kind of looping back to the communication issue. Do either staff or city manager, do you know, is the current homeless task force still intact? Has it been dismissed, or is it going to be reconfigured? There hasn't been a meeting in many, many, many months. And again, COVID certainly could be the reason for that. But I just am curious if it's still a viable organization, or if it's looking for some reconfiguration or change.
Terry, it is viable, Commissioner Andrade. We will be resuming meetings, I believe, early next month, if not later this month. I think it's actually later this month, June 30th. We are planning to get that group together. So as soon as we finalize a few of the other planning issues, we'll go on and send that notice out.
Okay. Thank you, Jake. Thank you.
All right, excellent. Thank you for those updates. Jay, you want to cover item E?
Sure. Commissioners, Chair, we're at that point where it's time to identify the successor chair and vice chair for the commission. So if you would please, for the next meeting, give some thought to those you may recommend for those positions. And at the next meeting, we'll go on and have a vote and have the handing over of the digital gavel.
Excellent, thank you. We're on to item F, Commissioner, staff, and student comments. Do we want to go around the table? And I see Commissioner Ramaran in my top left corner.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director Verada. Yeah, happy Pride to everyone. As one of the gay members of the commission, I'm very proud to be a gay citizen and resident of Palm Springs. I'm born and raised here, so happy Pride to everyone. I also want to have one quick announcement. The Palm Springs Black History Committee has also announced Juneteenth. We'll be celebrating June 19th, 2021, from noon to 6 p.m. And there'll be food and music happening at the James O. Jesse Desert Highland Unity Center at 480 West Tramview Road. So I hope you all can also look into celebrating Juneteenth this month. Thank you.
Commissioner Flood.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out today is Flag Day. And all of us who are American citizens, we respect the flag. And next month, the American Legion will be having a big whoop-de-doo for July 4th. So stay tuned for that. And everyone's invited for a special occasion like that on July 4th, the American Legion in Palm Springs. Thank you.
And I saw that they had the not retirement ceremony, but for the flags that are out of service. That ceremony took place at the Legion today. And as a reminder for folks whose flags get out of condition to fly, drop them off at any American Legion and they will care for them properly and have proper disposal at days like today. Coming over to Commissioner Shepherd.
I have nothing to add today.
Excellent. Representative Hanner.
I don't really have anything to add either, but just kind of what Chair Ramadan said, just, happy Pride, and being a bisexual youth in Palm Springs has definitely been a lot easier, I think, now than some of the LGBTQ people in my life that are adults now. So I'm very happy to be able to celebrate Pride and to be able to see my community being properly represented in my city, throughout the valley in general. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. It's just happy Pride, and I hope everyone's having a nice day and summer, even though it's really hot. So yeah.
Commissioner Andrade.
Yeah, I think I kind of used up my comments and my thoughts, but thank you.
All right, excellent. Jay, any comments for you?
No additional comments, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Excellent. And following in Commissioner Ramaran and Representative Henner's steps, extremely pleased and proud to see the commission do a resolution proclaiming Pride Month for June and November. As a gay Mexican father of 2 teenage boys, it's certainly proud to see our city stand up and support diversity across all communities. So much appreciated. And as Lily said, happy Pride. Yes, let's see. Any other agenda items for our next meeting that that we want to put on the agenda for July? Any pressing items we need to carry forward? Which is fine. I'm sorry, I had a thing and I forgot what I was going to say. If we have none, then is our next meeting going to be in person, or are we going to continue in Zoom, Jay, for July? We can't hear you, Jay.
Okay. I believe we can anticipate being on Zoom until the fall.
Oh, okay. I don't think we have a problem with that, do we? No. Okay. So we will adjourn. It's 6:37. The Human Rights Commission for the City of Palm Springs will adjourn to adjourned regular meeting Monday, July 12th, 2021 via Zoom. So thank you all. Have a good week and stay cool. Adios.